our schools.
Tough loss for the Spurs tonight. Spurs lose at home to the Brooklyn Nets, 117 to 102. This is Spurs React on Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI. I'm Chris Duel along with Michael Bartlett. You see him next to me. Bill Schoening bringing us postgame. We are at commercial right now on the postgame show, but we will hear from Bill Schoening here in just a few moments. We'll bring you his audio as he joins us here in a moment. Spurs had an opportunity to win 2 in a row. Had they won tonight, had a chance to win 3 out of 4. They led at halftime 51-50. They were down by, 5 at the end of 3 quarters, 79-74. But the Brooklyn Nets pulled away in the fourth quarter and wound up winning this thing 117-102. In just a moment, we'll hear more from Bill Schoening in postgame. Then we'll start our Spurs React here. Here comes more with Bill.
117-102, Brooklyn with a victory over the San Antonio Spurs. Let's take a look at individual scoring. First of all, for the visitors from Brooklyn, James Harden, 13 of 24 from the field, 7 of 7 from the line. He also had 4 threes. He had 37 points. Kyrie Irving added 24 points. He scored 15 in the fourth quarter. He had 3 rebounds and 4 assists as well to go along with 24 points. Among the other starters, 9 points for Patty Mills, who did not score at all in the first half. In fact, he missed his first 6 shots, but he finishes with 9 points on 4 of 11 shooting. He had 1 3 in this game. 6 points for Day'Ron Sharpe, who added 10 rebounds, 5 points and 5 boards for Kessler Edwards. Off the bench, 16 for LaMarcus Aldridge. The former Spur was 8 of 14 from the field. He had 7 rebounds in this ballgame as well, and 2 assists. 2 points each for Cam Thomas and DeAndre Bembry. Bruce Brown had 6, and 10 for Blake Griffin, who added 5 rebounds. For the Spurs, among the starters, DeJounte Murray, 25 points, 10 assists, and 12 rebounds. The 9th triple-double for DeJounte Murray this season. 17 points for Derek White, who was just 4 of 16 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point range. He added 7 assists and 6 rebounds, but only 4 of 16 from the field for Derek White tonight, who finishes with 17. 15 points and 11 rebounds for Jakob Poeltl. He was 6 of 12 from the floor. He also added 3 blocked shots. Keldon Johnson was 5 of 12, 2 of 7 from distance. 14 points, 7 boards for Keldon Johnson. Doug McDermott just 3 of 9, 1 of 4 beyond the arc. He had 7 points and 3 rebounds. Off the bench, several players for the Spurs contributed, but nobody got to double figures. Devin Vassell was just 4 of 11. He missed all 5 of his 3-pointers. He had 9 points and 3 boards. Keita Bates-Diop with 4 points and 5 rebounds. Lonnie Walker was just 2 of 6. He had 5 points and 2 assists in 18 minutes. Jock Landale played just 5 minutes. He hit both of his shots. He had 4 points in this game. Drew Eubanks, 2 points, and that adds up to 117 to 102. Brooklyn with the win over the San Antonio Spurs. And again, the Spurs bench unable to really get it going in this ballgame as they were outscored by the Brooklyn bench. And that was really one of the differences in the ballgame because the Spurs rely on that bench scoring. And tonight it was 36 to 24 in favor of Brooklyn over the Spurs. That was off the bench. 117-102, the final score. Brooklyn with the victory over San Antonio. And again, next up for the Spurs, the Philadelphia 76ers will begin here on Sunday night. That's a 6 o'clock tip. And we'll be on the air at 5:30 with Spurs Radio Game Night. Right now, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification along the San Antonio Spurs Radio Network.
News Radio 1200 WOAI, San Antonio's breaking news, traffic, and weather.
Again, the final 117-102, Brooklyn over San Antonio. Crowd of 15,068 on hand here on a Friday night at the AT&T Center. Spurs Radio continues in a moment.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog.
Hello, Beth Settle. Beth Settle, welcome in. Frank Ramirez. Frank says if KD plays, it would have been worse. Thank you, Frank. You and Joanne Hernandez win our positivity award for the night. Speaking of positive, Wes Perkins says positive sign tonight, 24 free throw attempts.
Do the next one because he's already done.
Okay, so I'm doing a total of 2?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
What if it's no big deal that I'm a woman? What if it's about striving for excellence?
Becky Hammond on a commercial.
Without the label.
It's not about where others say you should be. It's about where you want to go.
It's about a financial services company that focuses on your measures of success. Whether it's for your home or business, we offer personalized service and expert advice to help you achieve your unique goals.
Christopher, I'm not so
Visit
sure it's going to be tougher on
swbc.com
Sunday.
for financial services.
Philly's good, but we'll see how the Spurs match up.
It's what the Austin Spurs are all about. We're the proving ground for rookies on the rise. The NBA's next.
Yeah, Tucker, that's a good point. You make a point
We're the young,
backed
the
up by
hungry,
stats.
the ready.
That's a good
Heard
thing.
enough? See for yourself. Witness
Jason
tomorrow's
Salinas.
All-Stars of the San Antonio Spurs. With the
Let me
NBA
see. I got to do a segment here on the radio, still in post game.
Tickets start at $15 to score yours.
Yeah, Patty was not shooting well at all in the first half, Veronica. Here we come. From the Spurs Net Center, I'm Chris Duel. Final score from the AT&T Center. The Brooklyn Nets beat the San Antonio Spurs 117-102. Programming note on the flagship station, Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI. Our Spurs React is coming right up. You can join Michael Bartlett and me, along with Spurs fans from across Texas and around the world, as Taro Kotani, the greatest international Spurs fan, already joining the live video feed from Tokyo, Japan this evening. 10 other games in the NBA. Let's look at games in progress first. Midway fourth quarter, Grizzlies lead the Nuggets 106-97. Midway fourth quarter, Jazz lead the Pistons 90-86. Late second quarter, Rockets over the Warriors 48-37. Final scores from earlier tonight, Hornets beat the Thunder 121-98. It was the Lakers over the Magic 116-105. Clippers came from behind in the fourth quarter at Philadelphia, beat the Sixers 102-101. Hawks over the Heat 110-108. Blazers over the Celtics in Boston 109-105. Raptors beat the Wizards 109-105, and the Bucks beat the Bulls 94-90. Once again, Spurs React coming up in just a little bit as the final score tonight from the AT&T Center. Brooklyn Nets 117, San Antonio Spurs 102. Spurs Radio continues in a moment.
Ahmed Mizani, founder and president of South Texas Renal Care Group. We treat kidney patients, mostly diabetics. San Antonio has a very large population.
Wow, nice. Veronica, I like your emojis to say chicken crap. Veronica says, I think Steve Nash is kind of chicken crap, leaving his starters in until the very end. A lot of coaches do that to us. I think they are afraid, very afraid. Veronica, Michael Bartlett was talking about that specifically to me late in the game. Harden in there, when they're up 12 with 90 seconds left. Jamie says, dang, we need to win some games. I agree with that. Could have won. Tonight would have been 2 in a row and would have been 3 out of 4 had they won, but they did not. Frank Ramirez. Just have to be patient. Whoa. Jamie, Steve Nash is not a coach anyway. Joanne Hernandez, who usually wins our positivity award, says 29 losses is pathetic. Christopher, you should know the answer to that. What's the answer? Grinding, pounding the rock. It's what the answer has always been in San Antonio. Pound the rock, get better, work on it. David Valles says, leave your players in to win it. Nothing wrong with that. No, David, I think the point was the score was settled when he did not put in reserves. Yeah, Veronica, who knows her basketball, says James Harden was just padding his stats. All right, Christopher, I always give extra points for a Jimmy Johnson reference. Here we go. From the Spurs Net Center, I'm Chris Duel. Once again, the final score from the AT&T Center. The Brooklyn Nets beat the San Antonio Spurs 117-102. Once again, coming up within just a few moments, our Spurs React. Michael Bartlett will join me. We will react with you. Lots of people already joining us as we stream live video on 1200 WOAI's Facebook and Twitter pages. All that after a quick wrap-up from Bill Schoening at the AT&T Center, where he had the call tonight as the Spurs fall to the Brooklyn Nets, 117-102. Spurs Radio continues in a moment.
Pizza Hut stuffed crust is the crust that made crust good. Topped and stuffed with over.
Frank, I appreciate the meatloaf.
Loving it. Original stuffed crust, just
reference.
Only from Pizza Hut. Ask or click for limited time offer. Prices higher in some locations. Extra charge for more than one topping and extra cheese.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savannah. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour.
I had where to go.
Todd has AT&T 5G.
Here's my
reliable and secure.
meatloaf brand.
The best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack.
There's meatloaf in the upper right-hand corner. We pay a little, Frank, we pay some homage to meatloaf on this video broadcast.
If you love HEB, but don't always have the time for shopping.
Veronica, we're not taking calls tonight. We're reading from the video because where I am in an alternate studio, I was in here earlier because the Joe Pags show was Carrie Lockie was in the other studio. So when I'm in this studio, if I don't make the move, I can't see the phone lines in this studio. So we'll take phone calls on Sunday after the game. We prefer to take phone calls. It's just technically it's not real possible tonight. Christopher Silva, Meatloaf Forever. I was listening to a lot of Meatloaf. Here's Bill.
Handles commercial traffic along with Leah Resendez. Our broadcast engineer, Sam Walters. Our statistician, Walter Stoops. Next game for the Spurs, Sunday night, 6 o'clock against the Philadelphia 76ers.
And 20?
Yes.
Okay.
Fonzie J. Rodriguez, welcome in.
Well, I'm already good to go.
Our studio host is Chris Duel.
Beautiful.
Bill Schoening. Thank you for joining us this evening. The final score from the AT&T Center: Brooklyn 117, San Antonio 102. This has been a presentation of Spurs Sports and Entertainment and the National Basketball Association. All rights reserved. Good night, everybody.
Spurs Radio Game Night Rewind has been brought to you by AT&T.
Scott says tank for picks. Scott, I don't think the Spurs are doing that. I don't think that's in their DNA. I know a lot of Spurs fans might think so. Jamie, iHeart does not have the rights. The NBA doesn't allow them to do that. The NBA has their own broadcast infrastructure. They want to do it via, NBA League Pass and on the team's individual apps. So it's not our choice. We used to do it, but the NBA doesn't allow it anymore.
I hope it's an inspiration to girls out there.
Yeah, Louis Anderson also passed away today, which was sad. And a very amazing Vietnamese monk named Thich Nhat Hanh passed away today. So you had three really notable people. Meatloaf, music, Louis Anderson, comedy, Thich Nhat Hanh as well, from the spiritual world. So here we come.
This is Game Night React on the home of the Spurs, Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI.
From the Spurs Net Center, I'm Chris Duel, along with Michael the Butcher Bartlett. That's right. When the Spurs lose, he's no longer the Mr. Rogers of sports talk radio. It is not a beautiful night in Michael Bartlett's neighborhood when the Spurs fall. And that's what they did tonight. Spurs lose to the Brooklyn Nets, 117-102. It was an opportunity for the Spurs to win 2 in a row, and 3 out of 4 had they won. And the Spurs had a slight lead at halftime, 51-50. Spurs were still in this game going into the fourth quarter, 79-74, but the Brooklyn Nets pulled away in that fourth quarter. They were hitting their key shots in the fourth, and the Spurs were not. And the Nets pull away to win this one tonight, 117 to 102. As I mentioned, Chris Duel along with Michael Bartlett. Spurs React on Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI. We stream live video on 1200 WOAI's Facebook and Twitter pages. Before we check in with Michael Bartlett and get his thoughts on tonight's game, let's look at a couple of numbers from tonight's game. Spurs overall shot 38.9% to the Nets 48%. So the Nets out shooting the Spurs. That was significant. Before it was all said and done, it was the Nets. Wasn't this way at halftime, but the Nets outshot the Spurs from three-point country 36% to 28%. Nets hit 9 three-point shots out of 25. Spurs 8 of 29. Not a huge differential there. Spurs got to the line a lot more than the Nets. They got to the line 24 times. They hit 20 free throws. Nets got to the line 12 times, hit all 12 of their free throws. Rebounding, 53 rebounds for Brooklyn, 49 for the Spurs. Turnovers, just 6 turnovers for the Spurs, 7 for Brooklyn. But when the Spurs needed to hit their shots in the fourth quarter, it did not happen. And the Nets win this one, 117 to 102. Spurs missed the opportunity, as I mentioned, to win 2 in a row. They'll try again on Sunday evening, a little earlier than usual for the AT&T Center. That'll be a 6:00 tip-off on Sunday. Spurs Radio game night, 5:30, right here on 1200 WOAI. Michael the Butcher Bartlett. Michael, what's disappointing about this one, you look at the Spurs up at halftime, you look at the Spurs in striking distance, down by 5 at the end of 3. Had they put together a really good fourth quarter, I think they could have won this game tonight, but they seem to just kind of run out of gas tonight against the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, you basically pointed it out as far as all of the stats-wise. They missed an opportunity tonight to take advantage of Brooklyn, being down players. And for the most part, up until that fourth quarter, kind of in the same shooting slump that the Spurs were. For the most part, both teams were shooting around, 42, 43-ish%. And then that fourth quarter rolled around and Brooklyn was basically hitting everything and we just weren't hitting anything. The bench tonight, which, we talk about it several times, that this team relies on their bench so much, not just for points and energy and things like that, but just overall, the bench was just not there. It was not there tonight. Jock Landale only gets 5 minutes. I don't know what the motivation for Pop, to kind of limit Jock's minutes tonight was. Lonnie Walker, 18 minutes, only 5 points. Devin Vassell, 24 minutes, 9 points. It's if the bench shows up to the point that we're used to the bench playing, I mean, this game is a lot closer. It was 36-24 Brooklyn. Usually it's the other way around. The Spurs usually have about 35, 40 points from the bench, and the other team is the one whose bench doesn't show up. Not much more can be said about DeJounte and Derek. The starting five, besides McBuckets, only 7 points, but all the starters in double figures. If you want to look at anything negative wise, I would say maybe Derek and DeJounte shooting. Combined they go 12 of 36. DeJounte still gets his 9th triple-double of the season. Derek drops 17, but again, it comes down to the overall shooting. When James Harden makes more buckets than your 2 top guys, it's going to be a problem. It was basically the James Harden show for the longest time until that fourth quarter, and then Kyrie Irving decided he was going to show up and drop I want to say at least like 15 in that fourth quarter. So they just unfortunately could not get stops when they needed to, and just kind of playing with fire. they stayed in it for as long as they could. The defense was okay at times, but when you're not making buckets, and what Pop was saying in post game, missing chippies, you have to rely on that defense to stay 100%. And unfortunately, they just could not get stops when they needed to, because they just weren't scoring. They weren't hitting buckets. But it was, if nothing else, it was nice to see. Not that you and I wouldn't expect anything else from the Spurs organization, but the appreciation that the Spurs fans and the Spurs organization showed Patty and LaMarcus Aldridge.
Now, Michael, you need to admit, you told me in my ear you got goosebumps watching that tribute.
I very well did, listening to it and then watching the video as well. I did get goosebumps. Just it's as much hate, I won't even say, but as much criticism as I gave Patty over the years, my love-hate relationship with Patty, he's still family overall. He's still silver and black, even though that silver and black right now is Brooklyn Nets colors. He will always be Spurs silver and black. And even though, LaMarcus Aldridge is here for 5 years, very underappreciated Spur. A lot of people, trying or expecting him to be the next Tim Duncan. LaMarcus is what LaMarcus was. He was still a damn good player in his time here, and as Pop said in post game, a very generous and community type, well-driven man. We didn't hear about it because that's how LaMarcus was. He didn't want the spotlight about giving his time to the community or doing this for the community. It's that's just the Spurs culture. They don't care about the spotlight or anything like that. So it was nice to see that and everything. Hopefully come Sunday, they kind of get off the shooting slump and try to bounce back against Philadelphia. So we'll see what happens there.
All right. And we will have that for you. Don't forget, Sunday games do tend, if they're at home, to start at 6:00 earlier than the typical weekday start you would get at the AT&T Center. So tip off just after 6:00, especially if you're going to that game. Keep that in mind on Sunday. We will have Spurs radio game night at 5:30 on Sunday with the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. We want to thank Bill for doing a magnificent job, as he always does, in his 21st year as the English language radio voice of the San Antonio Spurs. His on-site engineer, Sam Walters, always does a great job as well, along with veteran statistician Walter Stoops. For those gentlemen and for the man you just heard from, Michael the Butcher Bartlett, who got goosebumps watching that tribute. By the way, the Nets, the Spurs, and I think Bally Sports tweeted out that tribute in its entirety. So if you missed it, or if you want to see it again, you can go to Twitter, you can go to social media and find it tonight. So go take a look at that. That was a cool highlight of the night. Once again, the final score from the AT&T Center: the Brooklyn Nets beat the San Antonio Spurs 117-102. For Michael Bartlett, I'm Chris Duel. You've been listening to Spurs React on Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI.